Ma'am, should I start now?
So, a very good morning to all the principals, teachers, and all those students who are following this channel on live stream YouTube. Uh, it gives me an immense pleasure in inviting Srimati N. Rama Kalyani Garu, PGT Physics, TSMS, Pudu, Vikarabad. Uh, as I have said earlier, Madam comes with a immense uh, uh, experience in teaching physics at various levels. And we are very fortunate to have one such teacher who has empowered to deliver her expertise in subject, uh, to share her uh, subject with all you students. Hope this will be a very memorable experience for every one of us. And today she would be dealing with waves. This would be lesson 6, and she'll be discussing about superposition of waves, reflection of waves from rigid and non-rigid surfaces. Children, you have to note one very important thing here. This lesson today is very, very important because the principle of superposition in a general context, this would be prevailing all throughout your second year topics. So you'll be having principle of superposition in waves. You will have superposition of fields in electrostatics, and this goes on from one topic to the other. So this is a very general thing, and it would be the simplest way you can understand in this particular topic. Okay, Ramakaryani garu, you can take over now. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, one and all. Good morning, dear children. Hope you all are fine and hope you all are going through the videos every day. Children, in our previous sessions of physics, we have completed the definition of waves, understanding of wave phenomena. We have classified waves into transverse and longitudinal waves. We have understood the differences between the transverse and the longitudinal waves. We have seen the examples of the types of waves, right? Then we have come to the wave parameters, one important topic. What are the wave parameters that we have seen? Amplitude, right? Amplitude, phase difference, frequency, angular frequency, angular wave number, wavelength, time period, right? All these are the different wave parameters which we have seen quite detailed. Okay, we have also introduced the concept of path difference in the previous session. And then in the next sessions, we also saw the speed of traveling waves. The speed of traveling waves. We have seen the speed of transverse waves and the speed of longitudinal waves also. Right. Now, in today's session, we are going to see two major topics. One of them is the principle of superposition of waves. Children, the word superposition might be new to most of you, but the concept is not new. The superposition word literally means overlapping of two physical phenomena. Okay, it is the overlapping of two physical phenomena. This is something we observe quite every day in our daily life. Okay, so the principle of superposition of waves, as Srikanth sir had said, superposition of waves is an important concept not just for this chapter, but also we are going to see in electricity also. In this, the subtopics that we are going to discuss is first, the principle of superposition itself, that is, how to understand the principle of superposition, that is, what will happen if two waves are coming together, that is the principle of superposition. Next, we are going to visualize superposition. What do we mean by visualizing? We will see where we are observing superposition in our day-to-day life. Okay, we will try to understand through some pictures where we are seeing superposition in our daily life. In the next subtopic, we will see the displacement of the resultant wave. Children, you might have understood by now that superposition of waves does not involve one single wave. It involves two or more waves. Okay, we are trying to find out the displacement of the resultant wave. Resultant wave is the wave that is arised because of the superposition of the two or more waves. Okay, so the next thing we are going to see is the displacement of the resultant wave. And next we will see what are constructive and destructive interferences. Okay, constructive and destructive interferences. The word interference, again, something new. Interference is nothing but when we are saying the waves are getting superposed, we are saying they are getting interfered. Okay, they are interfering with each other. That is the meaning of superposition. Okay, children. The next important or the major topic that we are going to see today is the reflection of waves. Okay, reflection of waves. Children, what do we mean by reflection, first of all? Do you remember from your lower classes? What do we mean by reflection? Where did we hear this word? Reflection of waves we have heard usually in the light topic. Yes or no? Reflection of light rays. Okay. We are observing the phenomena of reflection in our daily life. We see our own reflection in the mirror every day. Okay. And we also know that we are able to see objects because of the property of reflection of light. Okay. Similarly, we are talking today about reflection of waves. That is, what will happen if the waves come across a boundary? Okay. What will happen if the waves come across a boundary? Boundary is a limit to its movement. Okay, what do we mean by a boundary? Boundary is nothing but a limit to its movement, something that is going to obstruct the free movement of the wave. Okay, so first we will see what happens to the wave at rigid boundaries. Rigid means a very hard boundary. You can consider a wall, a big rock, a hill. These can be considered as rigid boundaries. Okay, and then we will see the reflection of waves at free boundaries. Okay, free boundaries are flexible boundaries that may be able to move. Okay, that may be able to move. Okay, children. So from here we will go to the concept of principle of superposition of waves. Children, I hope you can see the image or the small video that is playing on the video right now. You can see three different colored waves here. Carefully observe them, children. You can see three different colored waves. The blue wave, the green wave, and the red colored wave. Okay. If you closely observe the behavior of the red colored wave, how is it behaving? Its amplitude is increasing, decreasing. Is it standard? Is it stationary? Its amplitude? No. Its amplitude is continuously changing. Okay. It is changing continuously with respect to the movement of the two waves, the green wave and the blue wave. Okay. So children, you can see here when the two waves, the green wave and the blue wave, right? The green wave and the blue wave, when they are coming together, you can see now they are coming together now, right? They come together. The red colored wave is having a peak at that time. Yes. And when they're exactly in the opposite direction, just see this. Yes. How is the red colored wave behaving? It is going flat. Yes or no? The red colored wave is going flat here. Okay. See here. So when the green colored wave and the blue colored wave are out of phase with each other, the red colored line is going flat. Okay. And when is the red colored wave getting a peak here? That is the highest amplitude. When the green colored wave and the blue colored wave are in perfect phase with each other. They are perfectly coinciding with each other. At that time, the red colored wave is showing maximum amplitude. Okay, whether it is the crest or the trough. Okay, children. So I hope the image is clear to you. And from here, let us see what is the principle of superposition got to say. When two wave pulses traveling in opposite directions come across each other. Okay. So here, the green wave and the blue wave, we are assuming to be coming from the opposite directions and they are overlapping with each other. Okay. They are overlapping with each other. Now you can clearly understand what do we mean by overlapping or superposition. They are interfering with each other. Yes or no? They have come across each other. Okay. They overlap. So when two waves traveling in opposite directions come across each other, they overlap. What happens during this time? The wave pattern changes during the overlap. The wave pattern, you can see the red colored wave. Yes, children. The red colored wave is the resultant wave now. This changes during the overlap. The displacement of the resultant wave is the algebraic sum of the displacements of the individual wave pulses. Okay. Now the displacement of the red colored wave. Observe the red colored wave. It is the sum of the displacements or sum of the amplitudes of the two overlapping waves. That is the amplitude of green colored wave plus the amplitude of the blue colored wave gives rise to the amplitude of the red colored wave, which is the resultant wave. Okay, children, here I have used a word wave pulse. What do we mean by a pulse? Wave pulse is just when you give a small jerk to a rope. You can see a small wave being carried till the end to the other end of the rope. Okay, a small wave is being carried to the other end of the rope. That is called as a wave pulse. Here, one individual crest or one individual trough you can consider as a wave pulse. So when two wave pulses overlap with each other, then the sum of the amplitudes or the sum of the displacements of these two waves is called as the resultant amplitude of the wave, the resultant wave. Okay, children, this is the principle of superposition of waves, right? Children, one thing here we have mentioned opposite directions, but superposition or interference may take place with the waves traveling in the same direction also. Okay, how? Suppose a wave is traveling initially and it is followed by another wave in the same direction which is coming with more speed, right? Just that you are traveling on your vehicle and one person is overtaking you in the same direction. Okay, is coming with more speed. What does it mean? Is coming with more speed. At the time also, in such situations also, overlap can take place in the same direction also, when the waves are traveling in the same direction also. Right, children? Here, once again, we are going to visualize the superposition. Here we have two individual waves. You can see the red colored wave here is one wave. The blue colored wave is another wave here. Both of them are traveling in the opposite directions. They are coming from the opposite directions. Okay. This shows us the overlap of these two waves. Okay. How they are overlapping. Okay. This shows us the overlap of the two waves, and the black colored wave shows us the resultant wave. Okay. The black colored wave shows us the resultant wave. Right, children? Now keep observing how the blue colored wave and the red colored wave are overlapping with each other and compare it to the black colored wave. What is happening? Okay. Now, when the two crests are combining perfectly, when the crest of the red wave and the crest of the blue wave are combining perfectly, we say the two waves are in phase with each other, and at the time we are seeing a peak in the black colored wave. Yes, we are seeing a peak in the black colored wave. Okay. And when the red colored wave and the blue colored wave are out of phase, how is it? The crest and the trough. Observe the crest and the trough. When the crest of the red wave and the trough of the blue wave are perfectly coinciding with each other, at the time we are seeing that the black colored line is going flat. Okay. Observe this, children. The black colored line, when is it going flat? The black colored line is going flat when the crest of one wave and the trough of one wave are coinciding with each other, which means the two waves are perfectly or totally out of phase with each other. Clear, children? Now, what are the other points that we are seeing here? The other points that we are seeing here is the wave patterns retain their identities after they crossed. Okay, the wave patterns are retaining their identities after they have crossed. That is, when these two waves cross each other after the overlap, okay, when they have completely crossed each other, they will retain their properties. That is, there is no change in their amplitude or displacement or frequency or anything. Okay, all their parameters will be the same. Look at the second point, children. The wave pulses move independent of each other. The wave pulses move independent of each other. What does that mean? The wave pulses move independent of each other. They are not disturbing each other actually. Okay. The wave pulses are going on their own way. They are not disturbing each other. But what is happening? Why is that? Why is it that we're getting a different wave altogether? There is the black colored wave. If they're not disturbing each other, actually they are disturbing the medium particles together. We know wave is a disturbance, right? We know that a wave is a disturbance. Now, when two or more waves are coming together at the same time in the same place, then the disturbance they are causing is a sum of the individual disturbances. Okay, but the waves will not disturb each other. The parameters will not be changed, right, children? The third particle we have mentioned, the displacement of the medium particles is due to both the wave pulses. Okay, whatever the displacement that we are observing in the black colored wave there, it is due to the displacement of both the waves here, both the red colored wave and the blue colored wave. Right, children, as I told you, we will be visualizing superposition. Visualizing superposition, that is observing where we see superposition. Okay, see the first picture, children. The first picture here, a person is creating waves here. A person is creating ripples in water. Okay, something very easily we can identify, or something very easily even we can do. Okay, so he's creating, if you observe clearly, he's creating two waves together. Okay, he's creating two waves together, and the two waves are overlapping with each other. Now look at the pattern there, the overlap pattern. Okay, you are able to see some bigger waves there. Yes, the bigger waves, and at places they are going blank. Yes, children, at places the wave is also going blank, right? That is, it is not showing any amplitude. Okay, so they are the places with zero displacement. That means a crest and a trough might have coincided there, and here where you are seeing maximum amplitude, there two crests or two troughs are coinciding. Where there is no amplitude at all, these positions are the places where there is zero displacement. Zero displacement because a crest and a trough have coincided in this place. Yes, children? And in the next picture, you are seeing the movement of a duck family, the mother duck and the baby duck. Okay, children. Now see here in the picture, see this place. Okay, are you able to see this place? This place is the position of superposition of the waves. What waves? When the mother duck is wading, when the mother duck is moving through water, there is a ripple created. Yes, the mother duck is wading here, and this is the resultant wave of the baby ducks. The baby ducks are moving, they are also creating some waves. Okay, now the two waves are overlapping at this place. You can see, children, the two waves are overlapping at this position, and here at this place there will be the increase in amplitude. The amplitude will be the algebraic sum, as we told. The amplitude will be the algebraic sum of the displacements of the individual waves. Yes, children, I hope you are able to identify this. This is something very simple, and this situation we can create at our own places also. Okay, we just need to take a bowl of water, create two disturbances simultaneously, and observe how is the wave pattern looking like. We have seen that maximum amplitudes can be produced and zero amplitude can also be produced. Okay, children, now let us go for the next image. These are two more examples that I have taken. When we are talking about waves, we can't leave behind sound and light. Very much wave property they exhibit. The first picture here you can see a number of musical instruments. We know we listen to so many songs in our daily life. We listen to so many music. Okay, but is it just a single music? Is it just a guitar or just a violin or just a veena that is playing there? Actually, a musical band is created. A music is created by the superposition of waves coming from so many instruments. Okay, you can see a guitar here. There's a violin. Okay, this is called a saxophone. Okay, a trumpet. So many musical instruments are here. All the musical instruments are creating their own waves. Okay, and they are combining, or the waves combining, superposing with each other to create a beautiful music. Okay, children, this is also an example of superposition of waves. Right, children, in the next image, this is the superposition of light waves. Okay, You can see light waves coming from two different sources here. How they are superposing with each other. Yes. And you can see the pattern also there. Okay. In between. Okay. Start observing the black screen over there. Right. That is the pattern that is forming there. Children, this is an important topic for your third chapter also. Just look there. You are seeing alternate bright and dark bands there. Yes or no? You are seeing alternate bright and dark bands, right? So these alternate bright and dark bands are a result of the superposition of waves, okay? So similarly, where there is a combination of two crests or two troughs, you are seeing the bright band, okay? You are seeing the bright band. And where there is a combination of a crest and a trough, you are seeing the black band or the dark band. Okay, children? The superposition principle is applicable in our daily life in many situations. One important situation that we can understand from our daily life also is the use of radio waves or the use of television. Yes, children, we have our cable connections. We are watching what is going around the world sitting at one place. Okay, so the waves that we are receiving into our antenna, into our TV antenna, is a combination of a number of electromagnetic waves coming into our TV antenna. Okay, children? Here also it is not just one single wave being transmitted to our traces. It is a combination of a number of electromagnetic waves that are coming, that are being received by our antennas. Okay, and that is what we are observing in our television. Okay, children, let us move to our next topic. That is the displacement of the resultant wave. Okay, as I told you, we are looking at two waves here, at least two waves when we are talking about displacement of the resultant wave. So we have seen that the disturbance created in the medium now is because of the disturbance of the two individual waves. Okay, that is the disturbance created in the medium is because of the presence of two separate waves. Okay, children, you can see it very coolly. What is this equation that is coming onto the screen? What is this, children? What is this equation, children? Yes, you can identify this as your displacement equation. We have seen it in our initial classes, the earlier classes. This is our displacement equation. Okay, we have another similar equation like this. Y1 of x comma t is equal to a sine kx minus omega t, and y2 of x comma t is equal to a sine kx minus omega t plus 5. Remember, children, what are all these things? Y stands for the displacement of the wave. Okay, the displacement equation itself, the left hand side is the subject of the equation, that is the displacement itself. X is the position of the wave at an instant of time t. Okay, x is the position of the wave at an instant of time t, that is along the x-axis. So from our displacement relation, what we are doing, we are finding out the displacement along the y-axis, displacement of the wave along the y-axis at the position x and at an instant of time t. Okay, and then I have another parameters here, k. What is k, children? Do you remember? K is the angular wave number. Okay, k is the angular wave number or the propagation constant. It is given by 2 pi by lambda. I hope you have seen or reviewed your previous topics. It is given by 2 pi by lambda, right? And then what is omega, children? Omega is the angular frequency. Okay, omega is the angular frequency, which is given by 2 pi by capital T. 2 pi by capital T, that is the time period. Okay, and 5, omega t plus 5. What is this 5, children? Phi is the, yes, phase difference. Phi is the phase difference. Okay, children, what is the difference between the first wave and the second wave here? We are assuming the first wave has no phase difference. Okay, it does not have a phase difference. It is starting from the 0 point. Okay, and the second wave is having a phase difference of phi compared to the first wave. Okay, that means now we are considering two waves traveling in the same direction. Okay, please make a note, ma. They are traveling in the same direction. Two waves traveling in the same direction with a phase difference of phi, but they have the same amplitude and they have the same angular frequency. Okay, children. So these two are the two waves traveling in the same direction, where phi is the phase difference between the two waves. Now the displacement of the resultant wave. What will be the displacement of the resultant wave? According to the principle of superposition, the displacement of the resultant wave will be the algebraic sum of the superposing waves. Y is equal to y1 plus y2. Okay, that is the two waves there, y1 and y2 are given. The displacement of the resultant wave y is given by y1 plus y2. Children, this is the steps that we have to note down for simple derivation. I'm just substituting here, ma. Okay, y is equal to y1. What is the equation of y1? A sine kx minus omega t. Yes, a sine minus kx, a sine into kx minus omega t. A sine of kx minus omega t. This is the y1 equation. And what is y2? A sine kx minus omega t plus phi. Okay, so I have just substituted these two terms here in y. Taking a common here. In both the terms, we have a as common. Okay. Yes, Shruti. Now, I hope you have made a note in the previous slide. We are assuming sine kx minus omega t is equal to sine A, and sine kx minus omega t plus phi is equal to sine B. Okay. We are assuming, or we are considering, sine kx minus omega t is equal to sine A, and sine kx minus omega t plus phi is equal to sine B. Now, according to the trigonometric identity, sine A plus sine B. Okay. Children, this is, if there are bithesis students, please don't worry, ma, take it as it is. It is a trigonometric identity. Math students will be familiar with this. Sine A plus sine B is equal to 2 sine of A plus B by 2 cos of A minus B by 2. Okay. The following steps we have just made simple substitutions, ma. What will happen to the displacement relation if we will use this equation by using this identity? It is just 2 sine of A. What is A? Kx minus omega t. What is B? Kx minus omega t plus phi. Okay, so in the numerator, these two terms are adding. We have by 2 in the denominator. And then cos of A minus B by 2. That is Kx minus omega t minus B minus of Kx minus of minus omega t plus omega t and minus phi by 2. Okay, I hope the derivation is clear to you, children. And then what is the following step here? What is happening? In the first term, that is in the sine term, we have two terms of kx adding. So that will be 2kx, 2a sine 2kx. 2 minus terms of omega t, that is minus 2 omega t plus phi whole divided by 2. Okay, 2kx minus 2 omega t plus phi divided by 2, and then cos of minus phi by 2. See here, children, kx and minus kx will cancel. Minus omega t and plus omega t will cancel, and we are remained with cos of minus phi by 2 in this term. Okay. Now, once again here, we can take kx minus 2 common here and cancel with the denominator 2 here, so that the resultant equation becomes 2a sine kx minus omega t plus phi by 2. Since there is no 2 here, it will become phi by 2 and cos of phi by 2. What happened to the minus sign here? According to our trigonometric relations, we know cos of minus theta is cos theta. Okay, cos of minus theta is cos theta. Now comes the final displacement equation. 2a cos of phi by 2 sine of kx minus omega t plus pi by 2. Why we have written it like this? I brought the cos pi by 2 term before. Okay. Now this, if you compare with your displacement equation, this looks like your amplitude. This entire thing becomes your amplitude, and it is sine kx minus omega t plus some phase difference. Okay. It has become y of x comma t, that is the resultant displacement, is the amplitude 2a cos pi by 2. This becomes your amplitude of the displaced net resultant wave now, and sine of kx minus omega t plus pi by 2. Okay, children. So comparing with our displacement equation, the original displacement equation, now the phase of the resultant wave is pi by 2. Okay, the phase of the resultant wave is pi by 2. So initially we started with the first wave with no phase difference. The second wave has a phase difference of phi compared to the first wave. Then the resultant wave has a phase difference of pi by 2. Okay, and next the amplitude is 2a cos pi by 2. The amplitude of the resultant wave is 2a cos pi by 2. That is this term, children. Okay. Now this becomes the amplitude of the resultant wave. Children, is the derivation clear to you? I hope you all have understood this. Okay, children. So we can now understand that the amplitude of the resultant wave depends not only on the amplitude of the overlapping waves, but also on the phase difference. Yes or no? The amplitude of the resultant wave depends on the amplitude of the individual waves that are superimposing with each other, and also on the phase difference, the phi value. Okay, the initial phase difference of the two waves. Okay, children. Now, based upon this, we will see two cases here. What happens to phi when it takes the value 0 and when it takes the value of 180 degrees. Okay, children. So the next subtopic we are coming to is the constructive interference. Children, observe these two waves carefully. These two waves are traveling in the opposite directions. Yes. But their amplitudes are not same. Their amplitudes are different. That is no issue. What we are noting here is they are in phase with each other. Okay. Now, just see what is happening when they are coming or coinciding perfectly, superposing perfectly with each other. What is happening to the resultant amplitude? Yes, the resultant amplitude is increasing. Okay. The resultant amplitude is increasing. How is it increasing? It is becoming the sum of these two waves. Yes, the sum of the amplitudes of these two small waves. This is the resultant wave amplitude. Okay, it is increasing. It is becoming the sum of amplitudes or displacements of these two waves. Okay, such type of interference is called as constructive interference. Such type of interference is called as constructive interference. Okay. When does constructive interference take place? Constructive interference takes place when phi, that is the phase difference, is 0 or 0 degrees or 0 radians. Okay. If the phase difference is 0 degrees or 0 radians between the two waves, then we say constructive interference takes place. Okay. We are saying the waves are in phase with each other. Okay. The waves are in phase with each other. Then the resultant wave becomes what, ma? Phi is equal to 0. The resultant wave becomes the amplitude of the resultant wave is twice the amplitude of the individual waves. This is the maximum amplitude of the wave. Okay. This is the maximum amplitude of the wave. What happened here? Do you remember the cos term was there here? Yes, children. Cos phi by 2 was there. 2a cos phi by 2. In our resultant wave equation, we had 2a cos phi by 2 as the amplitude. Now, since phi became 0 here, cos of 0 is 1. Yes or no? Cos of 0 is 1. So it became 2a into 1, 2a into 1, which means now the amplitude of the resultant wave is how much? 2a, 2 into a. Okay. So if a is the amplitude of one wave, one single wave, and a is the amplitude of another wave also, then 2a is the amplitude, the combined amplitude of the resultant wave. This will become the maximum amplitude of the wave. Okay, children? This type of interference is called as the constructive interference. Okay. Now, when I showed you the example of the superposition of light waves, okay, you have seen the bright bands there, the white color, bright glowing bands there in the light waves. Okay. They are a result of constructive interference, children. They are a result of constructive interference. Okay. Now let us go for another type of interference, the destructive interference. Okay. Now see here, children, what is happening? These two waves, they're coming, they're vanishing, and again they're leaving each other. Yes, they're coming. When they're coming close, they're vanishing. The red colored line is becoming flat there. Okay, the red colored line is becoming flat. See, it's becoming a flat here. Okay, what is the reason here? The two waves do have some amplitude, some value of amplitudes here. They are of the same amplitude, right? But they are totally out of phase with each other. Okay, the two waves are totally out of phase with each other. How are we saying they're totally out of phase with each other? The crest of one wave and the trough of one wave. Okay, the crest of one wave and the trough of another wave are overlapping with each other. Okay, this is giving rise to zero displacement or zero amplitude of the resultant wave. Okay, after their overlap or after the meeting is over, they will go back with their same properties. You can see they are living with their same properties. They did not become zero. Only during the overlap, their disturbance, their amplitude became zero. Okay, children. So this is the destructive interference. So we are saying when one crest and one trough are coming together, destructive interference is taking place. Okay, they are out of phase. When do we say they're out of phase? When phi is equal to 180 degrees or pi radians. When phi is equal to 180 degrees or pi radians, the waves are totally out of phase with each other. Okay, when the phase difference, okay, when the phase difference is 180 degrees or pi radians, the waves are said to be totally out of phase with each other. Okay, one crest and one trough combining here. Now, what happens here? 180 degrees. If phi value is 180 degrees, we have cos phi by 2 in the amplitude formula. 2a cos phi by 2. Now, if I substitute 180 here, 180 by 2 becomes cos 90. Okay, 180 by 2 becomes cos 90. What is cos 90 value? 0. So we have a 0 in the product. The entire displacement equation becomes 0. Okay, y becomes 0. So therefore, the wave appears like a flat line. The wave appears like a flat line. This is called as a totally destructive interference. Okay, this is called a totally destructive interference. Right, children? Now, only 0 and 180 we have taken. What about the values that come in between them or after them? These are called as intermediate values. Okay, and the interference, such type of interference for the values between 0 degrees and 180 degrees or 0 radians and pi radians is called as intermediate interference. It is called as intermediate interference. We have a numerical problem here, children. Based on the amplitude of the resultant wave, we have taken two sine waves. Sinusoidal waves means sine waves. Okay, two sine waves moving in the same direction along a stretched string. Along a stretched string. What do we mean by stretched string? If you hold a rope or a thread tightly, okay, even a rubber band, if you pull with both the ends together tightly, then it is a stretched string. Okay, it is a stretched string. Or you have a rope tightly tied to the two ends for drying clothes. Okay, if it is very tightly bounded at both the ends, then it is a stretched string. Okay, now these two waves are interfering with each other. They are moving in the same direction and they are interfering with each other. Okay. I have taken if the amplitude of each wave is 9.8 millimeter. Okay. If the amplitude of each wave is 9.8 millimeter and the phase difference between them is 120 degrees, that is phi value is 120 degrees, find the amplitude of the resultant wave. Okay, children, let us see the solution here. Very simple thing. Amplitude of the resultant wave, we know the equation y is equal to 2a cos pi by 2. Okay. What are the given values for us? The given values are amplitude of each wave is 9.8 millimeters and phi is equal to 120 degrees. On substituting the values, you can see 2a cos pi by 2, that is 2 into 9.8 into cos of 120 by 2. 2 into 9.8 is 19.6 into cos of 60 degrees. Yes, cos of 60 degrees. 120 by 2 is 60. That will give y is equal to 19.6 into 0.5. What is cos 60 value, children? 1 by 2. Okay. So we have y is equal to once again 9.8 millimeters. Okay. Y is equal to 9.8 millimeters. We got the amplitude of the resultant wave or the displacement of the resultant wave same as the amplitude of the individual waves somehow. Okay. So this is a type of intermediate interference, children. This is neither a constructive interference nor a destructive interference, because we know constructive interference occurs at 0 degrees and destructive interference occurs at 180 degrees or pi radians. Okay. So the phase difference here we have taken is 120 degrees. Therefore, it is a type of intermediate interference. Okay. So I hope you have understood this small problem, children. Now, next we will move on to the next topic, that is the reflection of waves. The reflection of waves. Okay. Already we have discussed what do we mean by reflection. The bouncing back of light waves or waves into the same medium after they have hit an opaque surface. Okay. This is the definition of reflection of light we have seen in our lower classes. Okay. So if we are in general talking about waves, in general we are talking about waves. Waves can be anything we know. Okay. They can be sound waves, they can be light waves, they can be water waves. Okay. So if a wave encounters an obstacle in its path, okay, that is called as a boundary. What does it do if it comes across an obstacle or a boundary? It is either reflected or transmitted. Okay. The wave is either reflected or transmitted, depends upon what type of boundary it is encountering. Okay. Depending upon what type of boundary it is encountering, the wave will either get reflected or get transmitted. Okay. Now let us see boundaries we are going to discuss here. Importantly, the fixed or the rigid boundary. The fixed or the rigid boundary, that is, I have told you, it may be a wall, it may be a mountain, okay, it may be a door in your house, right? That is a rigid boundary. Or if you have tied a rope tightly to a fixed end, okay, tied a rope tightly to a fixed end, then that is going to be a rigid boundary. Okay. Next, we are going to see what is a free boundary or a flexible boundary. Okay, a free boundary or a flexible boundary. A free boundary or a flexible boundary is a boundary which allows the wave pulse to move. Okay, which allows the wave pulse to move. For example, consider a rod to which the rope is connected with a ring. So when you are sending a wave pulse, the ring is able to move up and down of the rod. Okay, the wave is able to move up and down of the pulse. Or otherwise, you are making a wave on the ground. Hold a rope in your hand, leave the other end. If you are creating a jerk, in this way on the ground, okay, then the wave is going towards a flexible boundary. The wave is going towards the flexible boundary. Okay. Children, those who are familiar with karate fights, they use something like this nunchuck. Okay. Children who are familiar with karates, or many students even participate in that. Yes. So there, when the jerk is given with one side of the rod, the other side is connected to the chain. The chain is the string here, which is carrying the wave to the other rod. Okay. The other rod is acting as a free end. The other rod is acting as a free end. Okay. That is one type of boundary. And the other type of boundary, children, is the interface of the two media. Interface between two media. That is, if the wave is traveling from a less dense medium to a more dense medium, at the interface, what is happening? At the interface, what is happening? Children, where did you come across this earlier? Light waves, right? Light waves also move from one medium to another medium. From denser medium to rarer medium, what happens? From rarer medium to denser medium, what happens? Okay. So here it is a generalized term of waves. Now see here, children, we are talking about reflection at a rigid boundary. Reflection at a rigid boundary. The first one, the rigid boundary or the fixed boundary. Just look at the picture here, children. The picture here. The black colored dot, strong bold dot here indicates that it is a rigid support. Okay, it is a rigid support. The wave pulse is coming, hitting the wall, going back. Going back. Is it going back in the same manner? Is it going back in the same manner, ma? No. What is happening? Inversion is taking place here. Yes, the crest has become a trough now. The crest has become a trough. Children, what happens when you observe yourself in the mirror? Every day we are observing ourselves in the mirror, right? There is no change. You're seeing yourself. Yes, we know. We see ourselves. But we know that left to right inversion takes place. Yes, left appears to be right and right appears to be left in the mirror. Okay. Similarly, if this is a rigid boundary, the wave pulse is going towards a rigid boundary. Okay. The crest is becoming a trough. Amplitude is the same. We know when we look ourselves into the plane mirror, the size of our body is the same when we are standing exactly in front of it. Okay. We are seeing there is no change in the size of our height or anything. Okay. But only left to right inversion takes place. Similarly, here in this wave, the amplitude or the frequency is not changing. The amplitude or the frequency is not changing, but its crest becomes its trough. Its crest becomes its trough. Okay. That is the reflection of wave at a rigid boundary. Okay. Now let us see what happens here. When a wave pulse is incident on a rigid boundary, it exerts a force on the boundary. Okay. You know, any moving object can exert a force. Okay. So this wave, let us imagine it is carried by a string here. This wave is exerting some force on the wall. Okay. Now we are very well familiar with Newton's third law. What does the wave, what does the wall do? What does the rigid support do? What does the rigid support do, ma? Yes, it exerts the same force in the opposite direction. It exerts the same force in the opposite direction. We know this from Newton's law. Okay. So according to Newton's law, the boundary exerts an equal and opposite force on the wave pulse. Okay. The boundary also exerts an equal and opposite force on the wave pulse. So here we are assuming that there is no loss of energy to the wave pulse at the boundary. Then the same amplitude of wave with a phase difference of 180 radians will be reflected back into the medium. Okay, children? What happens when the wall is exerting equal and opposite force on the wave pulse? It is coming back with the same amplitude, but a phase difference of 180 degrees or 5 radians. Okay? We are assuming that there is no loss of energy at the boundary. Right, children? Now, if you imagine the situation exactly at the boundary, what is happening exactly at the boundary? Exactly at the boundary, there is a crest and an immediate creation of a trough. Okay, there is a crest and an immediate creation of a trough. Okay, therefore, the net displacement at the boundary will be equal to 0. Okay, we have seen in our destructive interference that when the two waves are out of phase with each other, when there is a combination or the union of a crest and a trough, okay, at that time, displacement becomes equal to 0. So at the boundary here, the crest and the trough, right? The crest is there and again a trough is there. Therefore, the net displacement at the boundary becomes equal to 0. Okay, children, this is the reflection at a rigid boundary. Now we'll see the reflection at a free boundary. Just as I was telling you, imagine the rope has a ring tied to it at the end. Okay, a ring, and it is able to move along the length of the rod. Just see when it is coming here, what is it doing? Okay, it is increased, it is just going up and down, going up and down. This is a free boundary. This is the representation of a free boundary. Okay, children. Now here, when the wave encounters a free boundary, it is able, so that it is able to move along its length in this manner. Then the wave is reflected back with the same amplitude and the same phase. Then it is moving back with the same amplitude and also with the same phase. Okay, that is the phase of the reflected wave is 0. Okay, the crest is going and coming back as crest with the same amplitude. Crest is going and coming back with the same amplitude as another crest. But what is happening exactly at the boundary? Just look at the ring. Yes, it is getting displaced to a greater height. Yes or no? It is getting displaced to a greater height. So here at the rigid boundary, what is happening, ma? The net displacement is becoming twice the amplitude. The net displacement is becoming twice the amplitude or twice the displacement of the incident or the reflected wave pulse. Okay. So here we have both crests. The incident wave is a crest and the reflected wave is also a crest. Therefore, we say that the amplitude at the boundary is doubled. The amplitude at the boundary is doubled or becomes a twice. Right, children? So, previously I have the reflection at fixed boundary. The reflection at fixed boundary, I told you, you can consider a mountain or a wall. Okay. So the echo of a sound, can be considered to be the example for reflection at a rigid boundary or a fixed boundary. Similarly, this is the reflection at a free boundary that I gave you. Imagine yourself playing with a rope holding tightly at one end and the other end is free. The other end will have a maximum displacement at the boundary. Children, these are the equations of the reflected waves. Okay. Equations of the reflected waves. So first we are considering the rigid boundary. For anything, this is the equation, the first equation that you are seeing on the screen. That is the equation of the incident wave. For simplicity, we have excluded the phase difference here. Y of x comma t. Y of x comma t is equal to a sine kx minus omega t, the displacement equation of the incident wave pulse. Okay. From the rigid boundary, we know that it is getting reflected with a difference of the phase difference of pi radians. Okay, with a difference of pi radians, right? So, what will be the equation of the reflected wave? The equation of the reflected wave I have taken as y1 of x comma t is equal to a sine of kx minus omega t plus pi. Okay, pi radians kada? Okay, it is pi radians, right? So it is the difference. Pi is the phase difference between the two waves, so we have included it here in the reflected wave. Okay, so now according to trigonometric relations, we know this will become minus of a sine kx minus omega t. Minus of a sine kx minus omega t. Okay. So then now you can compare the incident wave and the reflected wave from a rigid boundary. Okay. Incident wave and the reflected wave from the rigid boundary. Okay. Magnitudinally they are the same, but you can see the direction has become opposite. Okay. And then what happens if the wave is reflected from a free boundary? If the wave is reflected from a free boundary, then the equation of the reflected wave from a free boundary I have taken as y2 of x comma t. Y2 of x comma t is equal to a sine kx minus omega t plus 0. Okay, we know at the free boundary, the phase difference is 0 between the incident wave and the reflected wave. Okay, this is equal to a sine kx minus omega t. A sine kx minus omega t. That is the displacement equation or the displacement of the incident wave pulse and the reflected wave pulse at a free boundary are the same, are the same. Okay. Now, the displacement at a rigid boundary, the final displacement at a rigid boundary, if you take it as y naught, is 0 at all the times. Okay. Why, children? Y of x comma t is a sine kx minus omega t. Y1 of x comma t, that is the equation of the wave from the rigid boundary, is minus of a sine kx minus omega t. So these two add up to 0. These two add up to 0. Okay, children? So the displacement at a rigid boundary is always a 0, no matter what is the displacement or amplitude of the individual waves. Now, children, the last one, the interface of two media. We have seen another condition here. What happens to the waves at the interface of two media? That is, if the waves are traveling, from one medium to another medium. Simple understanding of this, you can consider two ropes joined of different material. Okay, a nylon rope or a nylon string tied to a cotton string. We know a nylon string is of less density and a cotton is with more density. Okay, so if you tie these two, then you can visualize the situation there. What happens if the wave is moving from the less dense medium to the more dense medium? So the thin line here represents the less dense medium, and the thick line here represents the more denser medium. Okay, so when the wave pulse is transmitting or moving from less dense medium to more dense medium, what is happening, children? Some amount is getting transmitted, okay, and some is getting reflected. But from the interface, what is happening, ma? The incident wave and the reflected wave are becoming out of phase of each other in this condition. Yes, the incident wave and the reflected wave are getting out of phase of each other when the wave is traveling from a less denser medium to more denser medium. Okay, that is what we have seen here. If a wave is traversing from a less dense medium into a more dense medium, then a part of it is transmitted and some part is reflected. The reflected wave is out of phase with the incident wave. The reflected wave here is out of phase. You can see some amount is getting transmitted, some is getting reflected, but in the opposite direction. The crest has become a trophy. That is, the incident wave and the reflected wave here are out of phase. Okay. One more condition we have children here, the reverse condition, the opposite condition. If the wave is traveling from a denser medium to a rarer medium, what is happening, see children? You can see here that the amplitude in the rarer medium, the amplitude in the less dense medium is increasing, and here it is decreasing, but still it is in phase with each other. Okay, the incident wave and the reflected wave are in phase with each other. Yes, it is going back in the same phase. Okay, children, the crest is remaining a crest. Only thing is its amplitude is decreased and the amplitude of the wave that is transmitted is increasing. Okay, children, this you can consider to be the refraction of light waves. Okay, you can consider it to be the refraction of light waves. Okay, that is when light is traveling, when the light wave is traveling from one medium to another medium, then what is happening, ma? We know light rays bend at the interface of the two media. Light rays bend at the interface of the two media. Okay, there is a change in the speed of the light. Okay, we know that there is a change in the speed of the light when it is traveling from one medium to another medium. Okay, don't forget, children, that in any refraction of light, there is almost some part of light getting reflected also. So that is what we are seeing here. If it is moving from this wave is moving from a less dense medium to a more dense medium, then it is out of phase. The reflected wave is out of phase. Okay, and if it is moving from a more dense medium to a less dense medium, then the reflected wave is in phase with the incident wave pulse. Okay, children, that was the last thing we had discussed. Now we will see what we have learned today. We have seen two waves passing through the same region at the same time, and the same region, they superpose with each other, and this is called superposition. It is also called as interference. If the interfering waves are in phase, phi is equal to 0, the phase difference is equal to 0, the resultant wave amplitude is doubled. This is called constructive interference. And if the interfering waves are out of phase, phi is equal to pi radians, the amplitude of the resultant wave becomes 0. This is called as destructive interference. Okay, we have seen the amplitude is becoming totally 0, the wavelengths are becoming a flat. Yes. And if a wave pulse is incident on a rigid boundary, the reflected wave has the same amplitude but is totally out of phase. Okay, at a rigid boundary, we have just seen if the wave is incident at a rigid boundary, it is reflected with the same amplitude but it is totally out of phase. Similarly, if the wave pulse is incident on a free boundary, the reflected wave has the same amplitude and also in phase. It is also in phase with the incident wave. So the reflected wave pulse from a free boundary not only has same amplitude but also is in phase with the incident wave. If the wave encounters an interface separating two elastic media, then it undergoes refraction. Okay, this is called as the refraction phenomena when it is passing from one elastic media to another elastic media. Okay, children, here are some questions that I have made for your assessment. What is the principle of superposition? Okay, which you can find in your find in this topic only, in this session only. List out some situations where you observe superposition of waves. If you review this video, I have mentioned some of the situations where we are observing superposition of waves. You may also try to get something new which are not mentioned here. Okay, children. Mention the conditions of constructive and destructive interferences. Okay, when does the constructive interference take place and when does the destructive interference take place? You have to write the conditions. Under what conditions will a wave be reflected? What is the phase difference between the incident and reflected wave at the rigid boundary? Okay, children, I have included a similar problem that we have done. If two similar waves of amplitude 1.2 centimeters traveling in the same direction overlap with each other, find the resultant amplitude if the phase difference between them is 90 degrees. Okay, children, tomorrow the session will be continued. So I want you all to do this problem and post the answer in the comment box. Okay, children. So this is all for today, children. Thank you so much. I hope you all have understood the session. Please review the video and try to answer these questions. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for the beautiful presentation that you have given.
Thank you.
You should have taken a lot of pain in preparing those slides. The animated slides were really very good. The way you have conducted the entire class was as if in a regular classroom. The graphics of constructive and destructive interference were also very good. The problems that you have solved are quite informative. Thank you very much, madam. Hope we'll see you again in the next session.
Thank you, sir. Very much my pleasure.